Prince William's secret confession to Kate Middleton revealed. Everyone thinks they know this marriage. Public smiles. Perfect posture. Carefully chosen words. But then came a confession never meant to leave the room. Not spoken to the world. Spoken to Kate. And it changes how everything else makes sense. Prince William's secret confession was not dramatic. It was quiet. And that is why it matters. The truth is, William has always lived two lives. One that belongs to the crown, and one that belongs to the man beneath it. The public knows the first story well. The second has always been guarded, even from those closest to him. Until, one moment, it wasn't. This story begins with pressure, not romance. From childhood, William was taught restraint. Emotion was something to manage, not display. Vulnerability was a risk. And love, especially public love, came with consequences he witnessed firsthand. He watched his parents' marriage unravel under scrutiny. He learned early that confession can become weaponized when the world is watching. So when William fell in love with Kate Middleton, he didn't rush toward it. He measured it. He tested it. He feared it. And that fear shaped everything that followed. Kate entered his life quietly. No agenda. No performance. She didn't try to fix him or impress him. She simply stayed present. That steadiness disarmed him in ways he didn't expect. With her, the noise faded. With her, he could be ordinary. That terrified him. Because if she became the place where he felt most himself, then losing her would mean losing safety. And William had already lost enough. The early years were full of unspoken tension. Not because love was missing, but because certainty wasn't complete. William pulled back when he felt overwhelmed. Kate waited without demanding reassurance she knew he wasn't ready to give. And then came the separation. Publicly framed as uncertainty, it was privately something else entirely. It was William confronting a question he'd avoided his whole life. Could he choose love without destroying it? Could he promise a future without repeating the past? Kate never pushed for answers. And that silence gave William space to hear his own thoughts clearly for the first time. When they reunited, something had shifted. Not just commitment, but honesty. This is where the confession enters the story. It wasn't a single sentence delivered dramatically. It was an admission layered with fear, memory, and resolve. A moment where William stopped protecting himself and allowed Kate to see the part of him shaped by loss. He admitted what he had never said aloud before. That he was afraid of failing her the way his family had failed each other. That the weight of his future sometimes made him feel trapped rather than privileged. That he worried love might not survive the role he was born into. This wasn't weakness. It was trust. Kate listened without interruption, without judgment. And that response changed how William understood partnership. For the first time, he realized that love didn't require him to be invulnerable. It required him to be honest. That realization followed him into marriage. Royal life did not soften after the wedding. It intensified. Every appearance scrutinized. Every silence interpreted. Every choice debated. And through it all, William carried the memory of that confession. It became the reference point for how he showed up. When Kate faced criticism, he didn't deflect. He supported quietly. When family tensions surfaced, he protected their unit first. When the pressure mounted, he returned to the understanding formed in that private moment. That she knew him fully. And still stayed. Behind closed doors, their relationship was not theatrical. It was practical. They learned how to communicate without spectacle, how to argue without damage, how to support without erasing themselves. Parenthood deepened that bond further. Watching Kate with their children stirred something deeply emotional in William. It wasn't just admiration. It was relief. Relief that his children would grow up in a home where affection wasn't hidden. Where emotional safety wasn't sacrificed for image. That relief traced back to the confession. Because in admitting his fears, William had unknowingly set the tone for the family he wanted to build. The public often assumes strength means silence. William learned the opposite. Strength meant choosing honesty in the one place it was safe to do so. There were moments when palace life tested that foundation. Moments when headlines speculated, when narratives tried to divide, when expectations pulled in opposing directions. But William didn't retreat into emotional distance. He leaned into the partnership he had chosen. Observers noticed the shift. Not because he spoke more, but because his actions aligned consistently. Kate was never positioned as secondary. She was integrated, consulted, respected. That is not accidental. It comes from a man who once admitted he was afraid, and found that fear met with understanding rather than disappointment. The confession also changed how William approached his future role. He stopped seeing duty and love as opposing forces. Instead, he treated love as the stabilizing force that made duty possible. That perspective is rare in royal history. Kate became not just his wife, but his anchor. The person who knew the full weight he carried and did not ask him to be lighter or heavier than he was. This is why their bond feels different to those watching closely. It isn't performative. It isn't reactive. It's steady. And steadiness comes from truth. The confession remains private not because it lacks importance, but because its power lies in who heard it. Kate didn't need to repeat it. She lived it. And William honored it by becoming more present, more grounded, more consistent. Every relationship has a turning point. For theirs, it wasn't a proposal or a ceremony. It was a moment of emotional exposure that redefined how they moved forward together. That moment reshaped their marriage, their parenting, their public roles, and it continues to shape how William approaches the crown he will one day wear. He is not a man pretending to have no fear. He is a man who faced it, named it, and chose partnership anyway. That is the confession that matters. Not because it was secret, but because it was true. And in a world built on appearances, truth spoken quietly can change everything.